Wednesdays are Connectors of the Week, and on this show we seek to connect the past, the present, and the future of careers to make sense to you, the young Ghanaian and African, help you make the right decisions and develop accordingly. On the show today, we are discussing how the future of work or careers would be and how to prepare for it as an African and most especially as a Ghanaian. The impact of technology is felt all around us. We have new experiences and new expectations. We want to identify how exactly it's going to influence our work and how we build our career. On the show today my guest is Mr. Cherubim Mawuli Amenyedor. He's a digital marketing strategist at StarTimes Ghana and the co-founder of Whole Node Hub, an innovation hub that specializes in skills training, startup incubation, and co-working spaces for peri-urban and rural Ghana. He's an alumni of the Young Diplomats of Ghana and is very passionate about technology, digital creativity, and youth acceleration. Maui, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you here.
Yeah, equally pleased to be here. I'm so pleased to be on the show.
Thank you very much. So we want to know what would be some of the key takeaways you want the audience to go away with per your preparation. What kind of things do you want the audience to go away with?
I think in no uncertain terms, the future is really volatile. It's quite uncertain. It's going to be complex and it's going to be very ambiguous. It's known as the VUCA concept. So with such a very volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous future, we have to be very steady and strategic in preparation. And like you said early on, but just as you said, it's a digital future. Digitalisation affects every other industry around us. So in preparing for future jobs, we need to prepare in anticipation. So it will not be the traditional way we handle those jobs, like the way most people have grown into career lines or job lines. Some are going to be very anticipatory. So you sit, if you can see or think of the invisible, you can do the impossible. So you envision what these trends are going to lead to. You look at fads, how fads will turn into shifts, and how shifts would make leaps. So I think it's going to be very, very unclear now to even state that this is the definite line of stream of jobs even in the next 20 years, because a lot of things are impacting. But however, over the past years, when we talk about career development, clearly it's a mix of your skills, your attitude, and your experience. So those things are going to be very clear. So let me take skills for one. So we're using these three things I just said: skills, attitude, and experience. So as a young person, you should have your top three skills. Like, this is what I do and I do very well. Then with attitude, you need to really enforce very good employable attitudes, like attitudes that can really get you. One attitude, like even working in a teamwork attitude is really critical. Yeah, and also with experience. Experience may not necessarily be the experience we all know. That is to say, we have years of work experience. That's what young people will lack the most. I think this is the best time to create experiences. So you can be a student, you do the usual internship, you volunteer with a fellowship. Those things increasingly also give you experience. So I think one best way to prepare for the future is to enhance your skills, reinforce your attitude, and to gain valuable experience. So just these three things.
Thank you very, very much. That was a very specific introduction. Well, since you have touched on a little bit of things already about being steady and being strategic, what is the future of careers? What is the future of work? I know maybe you can't necessarily encompass everything,
okay,
but based on your experience and your expertise and your knowledge in how technologies are moving, what do you think the future of careers?
One wise man said the best way to look into the future is to look at the past. So if you look at the past years till we got here, according to the World Economic Forum, they predicted that, or they are very certain we are in the fourth industrial revolution, which is to say there have been a lot of revolutions in the past, from the agrarian age to the information age, and now we are in the fourth industrial revolution, which is a confluence of disruptive technologies. If you study this kind of disruptive technology, it will help you appreciate the kind of work or the kind of career age we are in. And just as I said earlier on, things are not going to be very linear anymore. So where you start as a doctor and finish as a top medical doctor, you might need
professor or something.
We're in the world of RE, so you might need to re-engineer, to re-skill, to retool. you might need some touches to your career line. So whatever you may start your career with, I think in whatever field it should be, you should be abreast with technology or how digitalization will affect that field. Because now almost every company is a tech company, which is to say technology and digitalization has affected every economy and it has impacted every business model. So whatever field you are in, so even if you do massage therapy, just ask yourself, how does these disruptive technologies affect massage therapy? How can I use disruptive technologies or technology to even augment my delivery of massage therapy? So whatever field you are in, I think you need a combinatorial power of what you are doing and very basic digital technology. So
that's very interesting.
That's going to be the future of jobs and careers. It's going to be anything plus technology equals
so
good and stable career.
Great. So anything plus technology equals to a good and stable career.
Yeah.
Reminds me of my mom, who has been teaching for years, and recently they have to use tablets to check reports and teach children. And even though she's not very comfortable with it, she still has to learn it. And I think that's where we are moving towards, right?
Yeah.
So let's go to the next thing. We have established that for the future of careers, it's basically anything or any career plus technology. So then what does this mean for the student? What does this mean for the entry-level person now and probably in the future?
Okay, so just as I rightly said, anything plus digitalization, of course, is going to be a steady career. So what this means is practically this. So in your skill set, I mentioned top 3 things: your skills, your attitude, and your experience. These are the 3 valuable things that makes up a good job, which eventually leads to a good career. Good. So in any skill you have, ask yourself, is my skill, is it going to be disrupted soon? So let me give a very practical example. So let's say someone used to live in a library or the New York State Library. I want to use this New York State Library because before the advent of Google, it was one of the greatest repository of knowledge. People would go there because it was one of the biggest libraries in the world. People would go there looking for any sort of knowledge. So imagine you went there and all you did was to sort information. So you could tell people, if you're looking for information on zoology, just go to the right link, then here. What you did was to sort files, you could say your calling was to sort files, or your skill was how fast you sorted files. But in essence, what you really did was that you were leading people to information. Okay. So now Google came and disrupted this whole search thing that people don't depend heavily on libraries as we do now. Google even digitized a lot of those books in the library. So now Google is also leading people to information. Now that job of that librarian has been cut off, especially a person whose skill was just to lead people there. So it's going to begin with young graduates and entry-level people. Ask yourself, what indispensable skill do I have that it cannot be blown to bits by technology readily soon? So an easier way to look at it is that you can become a conductor of technology or someone who orchestrates technology. What this simply means is that instead of having a line of career path that you think can be replaced easily by technology, why don't you rather reposition yourself or retool yourself so you can use this same technology to better drive the value proposition of your organization in a very practical and easier way. Now we are in a wave of digitalization. Social media is everywhere. I think before, as a young graduate, one of the key skills, or one of the 7 things, maybe when the show ends I'll try to dig on, one of the key skills you need to have is social media management skill. It's a bonus for you, it's a plus for you. As a young person going to enter any good organization, that can easily set you apart, because older people there, they will trust you that you are young, you are new, you are ambitious. They might easily trust you with social media skills as to any other skill or experience you don't have. So I think it's one key skill you need to have. Talking about attitude, I think for me, one of the key attitudes we can't overemphasize enough is proactiveness. Like it's the difference between a lot of people. You need to learn how to not just be reactive, but how to proact. Think about the next 3 steps. That's why I think people who play chess do better at that. Always have the attitude that, hey, you don't just report to your boss to say this is the problem. Maybe you've put troubleshooted other available means to present as well with the problem. I think that attitude is really going to be indispensable, because if you can just spot problems, even machines themselves spot problems. They have pieces that can do troubleshooting. So what's the problem with you human just reporting problems? I feel the attitude of being proactive is needed. And with experience, I think digital skills, social media management, search engine optimization, email marketing, they are low-hanging fruit. Every every youth should at least identify it. You may not necessarily be an expert in it, but it's a plus to you before you enter the world of work. I feel it's a key skill you can take into your work. And also, if you don't probably like any of those skills, choose whatever field or industry you're in. Understand the impact of digitalization on that industry before you go in. So, for example, if you're a medical guy, you should know the latest AI app that's diagnosing diseases or symptoms of diseases. At least you should be conversant around how the app works. Yeah, those are the skills I think are relevant.
You mentioned something about fads and shifts and some other thing. I would want you to briefly talk us through them, bearing in mind the evolution of careers, like from the past to the present, and probably what we are looking at in the future.
Okay, so I spoke about fads, I spoke about shifts, and I spoke about leaps. Let me just make this more appropriate in the context of the fourth industrial revolution. So 11 years ago, in 2007, we had the first smartphone. And what this meant to the world was that we took the computational power on a PC or desktop, which was usually stable, into our hands. Now, 11 years on, this has changed a lot of work, or it has really changed the way we communicate, the way we live, and the way we work. Because now with just your smartphone, the computational power of your smartphone, it exceeded all the computer that was available for Bill Clinton to communicate via email with an Apollo satellite in 1999. This is this is so, like sometimes we underestimate the power of our devices. When that started, or before that even got to where it is, let me explain a fact for you to really understand the context better. A fact simply is something that's catching on. You know, in today's world, we have a lot of things that really caught on. Like trends. You know, if you know of the hula hoop, you know, people put it around their waist. You could say it's a fad because after some time it dies off. I know some fashion trends. I don't want to talk about them. People wearing certain types of fashion. After some while, it fades off. It goes off and off. But when social media came, when the early Web 2.0 started, social media, people were like, oh, it's just for young people. If you do remember, some of us were on other similar one before we got onto even Facebook. And all the sort. Then you see, after a fad comes a shift, because it's like you feel this will go away, then it doesn't seem to go away. Then it's rather shifting how we behave. So let me give my own personal professional example. So when I was in KNUST, I think 10 years back, exactly 10 years back, I got in exactly 10 years back, a decade ago. I have 1 decade. Interesting. So it was, I think then we were seeing the shift. A lot of people were leaving other social media networks for Facebook, particularly Facebook. Facebook was growing its user base. It broke the 500 million barrier. It was gaining on. And when it was gaining on, I also realized there will eventually companies will need to get there to get the same attention of people they've been chasing across all other traditional media. So in that case, Facebook was moving from a fad to a shift. And when a shift usually happens, it takes between 2 to 5 years. People adopt, and they adopt very fast. And so it's the same with certain career trends. There are some career trends you might be seeing today that were fads but are now becoming shifts. And I'm using social media as an example in the 2008. Then after the shift, a shift means it has completely changed what we used to know about making friends. Let me give Facebook for example. So I think Facebook after high school, mostly in Africa, you just reach that one day you meet a friend somewhere else, like maybe some other social program. But Facebook had made it so easy for you to catch up with all your high school mates at almost any point in time. So you could create a group and stuff of this sort. So that's like a shift. A leap goes beyond, and that's going back to the same example of the US putting the first satellite on the moon. It changed communication forever. And when a leap happens, like it's irreversible, like it's a chemical change. Scientists will say you can't get back the things that have been added to make it up. So there are certain trends which are fads, we may change very soon. There are some which are leaps, and there are some which are shifts. And I believe particularly with technology and the disruptive technologies we have, such as 3D printing, we have robotics, we have artificial intelligence and the sort, they are here to stay. They are really, for now, I would say they are shifts now. So I think as African youth and young Ghanaians preparing for work, we don't need to maybe wrap our head around everything about it, but you need to know it, know how it affects what you are doing. It's very, very important because they affect everything else and they put a lot of people out of business. So you need to not only understand it, you need to know how it impacts your industry. In whatever course or field you are in, I think you need to understand how some of these things come to play.
Interesting. So then are there fads that eventually fade off without becoming shifts?
Oh sure, there was this fad in the US about a stone that was sold for some huge amount of money. A lot of people bought it later on. It was just a fad, like people realized there was nothing to it. There are a lot of fads I can even, like, let me see, Ghana. Even Ghana, fashion is the best fad to bet on. After some time it changed. Yeah, there were certain types of shoes people wore over time. After a while, you realize, yeah, there was this ACG. If you remember that, the all conditional gear ACG. When I was way back, like people who wear it now. Where is ACG? It's gone. It's not only in the fashion line. I think sometimes it could also be in other industries. Maybe I'm just not sat down to identify them critically. But fads easily fade out. But when fads remain for a while, they become shift, and that's where we should really take good notice, because then it opens a whole new world of career opportunities. In 2008, 2009, 2010, it was quite unthinkable in Ghana to say people will pay people just to manage their Facebook pages for them. Today, it's the lowest point of entry. Companies are even going to hire people to manage their WhatsApp pages. So that's where it's going to like.
Interesting. So it's you said a lot of things about fads, about shifts, and all of that. So sometimes it's easy for you to just sit back and say, well, I'm not getting the hang on all of this. Why don't I just give up? What do you think the attitude for young people should be? Should we be like hungry for the knowledge and the increasing technology advances, or you would advise that in as much as you are hungry, you have a proper head on your shoulders, in that you're not just chasing the fads, but you're identifying the opportunities and how exactly it's going to affect you? What would be your advice for the outlook of the audience?
I think I'll go for the latter, where you are passionately curious about these technologies, but you don't really leave it at the passionate curiosity, because there's no economic value in just being passionate and curious. When you go on to understand the impact of what that is to what you are currently doing, and also where you can find or spot the gaps. I think that should be a third wave of advice. So where you can spot gaps. For example, let me give I went for a program recently, and I seemed to learn a lot of something I knew nothing entirely about. So whenever we say culture and art or cultural preservation, we think of this outdated thing. So I learned this new concept of called cultural technology. How you use these existing technologies to impact how we preserve culture and how we preserve heritage as well. I think this whole new concept is like, it blew up my mind, and as I sit here, we've been trying to work out on a lot of projects in that line. I wouldn't have known about this some years back, so I wasn't only passionately curious about the tech side. When I went to that program and I learned what I learned, I've now spotted some gaps of some projects which we intend doing so soon. So yeah, in as much as you should passionately pursue these programs too, do as well to also spot gaps. I think that's where the real value is, spotting of the gaps. So really,
yeah, I like what you said, that there's no economic value in just being passionate. That's like a very, very important statement. So we were able to gather some questions from the audience for you.
Okay.
So we want you to respond to them briefly and address them. The first one is, what are the current opportunities out there, both private and public, that are preparing the youth for the future of jobs, or the jobs of the future?
I think in 1989, the Berlin Wall fell. In 1990, www got up, and that really changed our world. Information. The power of information in today's world cannot be overemphasized, both in the private and public space. And now it's not just enough holding information. I think you need to be a curator of information. One of the key skills, I think, key opportunities we need to really harness now is that how to search. Having that ability to search for information is a key skill. So I think with the opportunities that are available now, one, because we're in the information age, the whole opportunity with knowledge, it's not easier to know anything if you really want to. You are not so much limited by so many things anymore. You can take a lot of online courses, free courses of course. You can do distance learning. You can almost learn and know about anything virtually at a practically low fraction or even no cost at all. So I think the power of information we have in today's day and age, and knowledge keeps multiplying, and you can reconnect it in a lot of ways. So I think the information we have today it's a big leverage for a lot of us. So we can really use it and advance it for the good of humanity.
So one of the opportunities we can actually exploit is that of information.
Yeah.
So being able to search for the right information.
Getting the right information, yeah.
And gathering it.
And using it, also making meaning out of data. So you don't just leave it at the data age, you make meaning out of data. So for example, people say X% of Ghanaians are so and so. Some others will interpret it to say 1 out of every 4 Ghanaian is so and so. You know, the meaning is that, so when they make it 1 out of every 4, it gives it a very visual, plain meaning than when they say X%. We need to also learn how to use the information as well. I think access to information is a big opportunity we have this age, because it has made a lot of things easier. Like your Wednesday show now, some years back you could never easily have put this together.
That is true. So look for information and appropriate it in the right context. The second question is the program I'm studying in university going to promise any relevance in tomorrow's Ghana? And let's put it as Africa.
There's been a widespread generalization that whenever our courses we study in Africa particularly are set in context with the changing requirements of jobs for the future, there's a missing link. However, I will stand to differ a bit. I will stand this way in the sense that it's true some college careers are not necessarily preparing us for direct job opportunities. However, the essence of education is not necessarily to prepare you for a job skill, it's to prepare you for life. And I think one mark of creativity is the ability to make connections. And for me, my first degree was completely in an art and design background, but now I'm a full practicing digital marketing specialist. And you ask, so how did I move from this to that? I just made connections, and when you make connections, that becomes your difference. So in the whole universe, everything is connected. There's nothing in isolation. Everything is connected. It's an ecosystem of connected things. So find what connects art and design to digital marketing or the principles of marketing. Find whatever course you're doing. There's always a connection of that course to what you're doing. So let's say you whatever course you're doing, probably you like leadership, probably you like sports. There's always a confluence of all those things in a path. So don't necessarily abandon whatever course you are doing to say, you may be disinterested, but I would just want to urge you on to at least finish it, probably in your first degree, your first HND, your first diploma. Try to finish what you are doing, because in the end, it all comes back together. I was also at a point in my life where I was quite confused. I felt I was multi-skilled. I didn't know exactly what to do. I got a very good advice from a great mentor. He told me to just focus on one and all will come together. So whatever course you're doing, let me give you a final example. You know the late Steve Jobs. He went to study calligraphy in a Hindu temple, and that calligraphy or skill he studied, it really had a lot to do with his sense of design, and that gave Apple a distinctive mark in their world of business. What do I mean? Apple was the first, will I say, their word processing was the first to have very cursive design fonts, and this made a whole lot of difference. Because, and you see, when you notice, when you even see anything Apple, the elegance in design by their chief designer is by name Sir Johnny Ive, he's a British. Because Jobs himself was a design guru, Sir Johnny Ive was really able to understand his design concept, and this is what something quite, you would say, unrelated like calligraphy has done so much for Steve Jobs. So for me, I don't see any food particularly as unrelated. The universe is so connected. It's just about it almost lies on you to find a connection, and when you're able to find that connection, people will say you're a genius and you stand apart. So whatever course you're offering, just like as I said earlier, just ensure you know how digitalization is impacting that industry, and then find a connection between that industry and whatever you want to do. I think you will really make a market. You'll be outstanding.
So to stay relevant in the future of works, you make connections and see how digitization affects those connections. If you have any concluding words for our audience.
I think in the sum total, like we said, the future of jobs and the future of careers are very much impacted by digitalization. So one, you need to understand whichever field you want to venture in, how it impacts. Two, you also need to find a connection between where you are now and probably where you feel you should want to be. Because I know a lot of people who feel they are doing a course so unrelated to their calling, so unrelated to their sense of mission and purpose on earth. they were forced literally into that field. I think it's not too late. Everything is connected. Once you find that connection and you understand the impact of digitalization, then you spot your opportunities. And when you spot your opportunities, you should do segmentation. Now this is where my marketing bias will come in. So what I mean by segmentation is that, let me use a practical example. So you're an arts and design student and you spotted that the way social media is really gaining grounds. Very soon, a lot of jobs will be created in social media. We'll need a lot of social media marketers. I think now we even have social media content managers. So we don't just have the broad marketers. Even in social media, you have content manager. Very soon, we even have distribution manager. His job is just to distribute on various channels. Ad special. So we are going to have a lot of programmatic ads. It's going to really open up. So when you find that connection between ads, so let's say you are a content creator as a design specialist and you use tools like Adobe Photoshop or all the nice Adobe Creative Suite tools to really create abstract ideas into real form. Then you segment. What I mean by segmentation is just what we are mentioning about. So you realize that in the industry we have content marketers, we have content strategists, we have distributors, we have other forms of people in the whole game. What you do is that you segment, you target a particular one. So after you segment, you target. And when you target, what you need to do is to position yourself. And by positioning, it means, and positioning is not just done, it's done to yourself, but it doesn't end with you because it ends in the minds of your potential employer, how people think about you. So for me, my positioning is simple. I'm Digital Mawuli. So you can think of, my name is Mawuli. I like to call myself Digital Mawuli. My brand is Digital Mawuli. So by Digital Mawuli, like it evokes a lot of things in the minds of people who know me or people who I offer my services to or I procure my services to. By positioning, what I really mean as a young graduate, what you need to do by positioning is that, one, as you've understood that this is a segment I want to be in and you've targeted it, you need to position yourself. So you need to get your personal branding online right. Like when people search for you on Google, this is the least thing you should get good results. I think I saw a research the last time, over 70% of recruiters will look out to your LinkedIn profile before hiring you. This is very important. This means at least all your life through college, before even getting your first interview, you have all the chance in the world to get a good search result out. And sadly, some people are rather using certain social media to really tweet themselves out of employment. Like there are certain social media profiles that may not land you some job opportunities. I think these are things you need to be wary of and really position yourself for. So you should see your social media platforms as a positioning tool. So whatever post you want to make, you should think about this. Is this going to position me for the job I want to be or the work I want to do? Is this going to position me for what I think I should be in the next couple of months or years? So I think your personal social media is your best positioning tool for graduates of today. And for anybody looking out for the future of work, it's not too far-fetched. It's just as simple as digitalization and finding that connection between where you are and where you really want to be. I think that's just my short message for everybody.
It was very, very great and a very insightful conversation. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. Digital Mawuli.
It's a great pleasure.
Thank you very much, viewers, for staying with us throughout the whole discussion. I believe you have picked up something that is going to be of essence in your career development path. As usual, subscribe, share, and connect with us on social media using the hashtag Career Wednesdays. Until our next episode, be great and keep making Africa proud.